On today's Padone My Take, Jadeveon Clowney is officially a Cleveland Brown. How's that change our expectations for 2021? We're going to break down the signing, what's it mean for the NFL draft, take a deep dive into that Jadeveon Clowney news. The Cleveland Indians, on the other hand, are all alone in first place of the American League Central. Who saw that coming? We'll talk some Tribe tonight. Quarterback Baker Mayfield turns 26 today. What would you get quarterback Baker Mayfield for his birthday? We get into our plays of the week presented by BigPlay.com. Talk about what's trending all around the world of sports. But first, the NFL draft is finally here in beautiful downtown Cleveland, Ohio, and I have the perfect shirt for you to celebrate, to commemorate this once-in-a-lifetime event. Visit the Big Play store. Head to store.bigplay.com and pick up a 2021 Cleveland draft shirt because we are not here to draft a quarterback. This is going to be one to remember. Visit the Big Play store. They got a ton of great exclusive Cleveland designs and is also the home of the officially licensed Padone My Take t-shirt. Use promo code Padone at checkout and save 15% off of your entire order with the Big Play store. That's my last name, Padone, at checkout for 15% off of your entire purchase at store.bigplay.com. Without further ado, let's do it. What's happening, everybody? Welcome on in to Padone My Take. My name is Nick Padone. We're streaming live on Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and of course, BigPlay.com. So excited to be with you guys today. Pack show, so much news going on. My name's Nick Padone, and we are here until about 9 p.m. What a day. Happy Wednesday, everybody, because Jadeveon Clowney is a Cleveland Brown. Who would have thought? This time last year, the Browns obviously pursued Clowney pretty heavily. It was a back and forth throughout really the entire spring into the summer. The Browns missed out on him. He became a Tennessee Titan, took a one-year deal to bet on himself, and that didn't really pan out. Let's just call it for what it is. Jadeveon Clowney probably thought he would head into this offseason and get Bud Dupree money, get top dollar for being one of the superior edge rushers in football. Instead, week 8 had a season-ending knee injury. Now he's healthy, past his physical, ready to roll opposite Myles Garrett. One-year deal worth $8 million. What do you think of the deal? I want you guys to tweet the show at Padone My Take. Tweet me, as always, at NickPadone12. I'm here to tell you I'm a fan of this. I have to say I think this is a good signing for the Cleveland Browns because Andrew Berry and his team wanted to have that veteran presence, that veteran defensive end opposite Myles Garrett. That was a priority. They kicked the tires on a bunch of players early in free agency. Obviously, that defensive end market boomed. The Browns weren't willing to pay, somebody $13, $14, $15 million a season for 4 seasons. We got our guy in Myles Garrett that we're paying that kind of money. That wasn't going to happen. But to get Clowney, who they already wanted from last season, now for even cheaper, really half of the contract that the Browns were prepared to pay him last offseason, I don't see in any way, shape, form, or light how this could be a bad move or perceived as a bad move. Now, I understand that when we talk about expectations in the grand scheme of things, and does Jadeveon Clowney single-handedly get you past the Kansas City Chiefs? Does Jadeveon Clowney get you from a bottom fourth of the league defense to maybe a top half of the league defense? Single-handedly, the answer there is no. But when you pair Jadeveon Clowney with some of the other moves that Andrew Berry has made to better fit Joe Woods and what he's trying to do here in Cleveland, I'm thinking, back to the Troy Hill signing to get a nice slot cornerback to play the inside. Obviously, Johnson III to play safety is a big signing. Anthony Walker at linebacker, adding depth all over that defensive line with Takk McKinley and signings along that front. Now you throw Jadeveon Clowney in the mold, and maybe you got something. Maybe you have a defense that could be an upgrade over last year. A Jadeveon Clowney to complement Myles Garrett, possibly better than what Olivier Vernon was able to do at times throughout last year. And I was a fan of Vernon, but I'm excited about this. It definitely is weird, and it's satisfying because obviously this is a guy that the Browns wanted. First and foremost, they made that clear from all last summer when they were fighting tooth and nail to get this guy into Berea. Couldn't meet with him face-to-face until now because of the pandemic. Now he's signed. Obviously, here's my whole big thing on Jadeveon Clowney, right? He was the number 1 overall pick in 2014. Now the Browns have 3 number 1 overall picks on their roster. Clowney in 14, then you have Myles Garrett in 17, then you have Baker Mayfield in 18. Jadeveon Clowney is a victim as far as him being overrated, which I've seen tweets all about, on Twitter today. Sure, he's a little overrated for where he was drafted. He's a prime example of a player that fell victim to his draft positioning. Imagine if a team took that guy in the 20s or even in the teens. We would be sitting here today saying, this is a great signing. This is a guy who has had a productive career. Just because he hasn't lived up to the number 1 overall pick, you need to be the rat's behind if you're picked in that position and completely changed the direction of an organization if you're the number 1 overall pick. Jadeveon Clowney's not that. Now that's not a downsay towards him because you can't control where you're selected. Obviously, it's good for him because he was able to secure a ton of money as a rookie, and now he's kind of trying to feel out where he could possibly find his future forever home. We got him here for a 1-year, $8 million pit stop in Cleveland. I'm asking you on Twitter, does this change your expectations for the Cleveland Browns in 2021? Yes, it changes them. Expectations higher. No, expectations are still the same with Jadeveon Clowney. Drop a comment. Would love to hear what you guys have to say about that. I don't think, like I said, Clowney himself doesn't move the needle all too much for me. Obviously, it's exciting because he is a consistent guy when he's healthy that could be opposite Myles Garrett. Takk McKinley, we've said from the jump. He's a guy that they just like. That was a kick the tires type of signing. They tried putting waiver claims in for him like 3 times. That didn't pan out. Takk McKinley was never going to be the long-term answer opposite Myles. Same with some of the other moves they've made. Malik Jackson, he's an interior player. He's not really going to remove the void left from Olivier Vernon. This Clowney signing makes a ton of sense, but for me, the signing by itself doesn't push the needle. It's that signing paired with Johnson III, Troy Hill, Anthony Walker, whatever happens with the 26th, 59th pick. If the Browns go defense followed by defense there, which I don't think they will, we'll get into that later in the show. Boy, that's exciting. Now you're looking at a team that had, Mack Wilson, and when Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams were both out, Denzel with injuries and COVID, and Greedy with that horrible shoulder nerve damage that he suffered in training camp, and no Grant Delpit, and we had Sendejo starting, and so many missed tackles, and we look so slow on the field. Now, to see some of the names that this Andrew Berry has been able to bring in this offseason, it's like, okay, the Browns probably still don't have the best defense in the league. That's a big ask to go from bottom 4th to top 4th, but now they should be serviceable enough to make a legitimate run at the AFC. That's what I could say today. After, the excitement of the signing when it happened earlier this afternoon, as I sit here on April 14th, draft is just over 2 weeks away. I got to tell you, the Browns are legitimate in the AFC. They made the divisional round last year. I have to believe that they were one play away against Chad Henne when defense couldn't get off the field on 3rd and 14. That play is going to haunt this organization for a long time if Andrew Berry doesn't turn around and make the moves that he's made in this free agency period. If Andrew Berry sat on his hands, didn't sign John Johnson, didn't sign Troy Hill, didn't sign Anthony Walker, didn't add depth that's quick and solid defensive depth, and we just sat on our hands and did nothing, that Chad Henne scramble on 3rd down could be one that would have plagued this organization, flat and simple. Because then you're having you're punching uphill, trying to get back to that time in a divisional playoff game where you're looking to crack an AFC championship for a chance to play for a Super Bowl, something that there's been 55 of and this organization has never appeared in one. I think they know that. I think they approach this offseason and they're going to approach this NFL draft that's upcoming with the idea of the key cornerstones are in place. You have Myles Garrett, you have Baker Mayfield, you have Denzel Ward, you have Nick Chubb, you have OBJ, Jarvis Landry. Some of those guys are going to have to get paid. The offensive line is built, and still pieces there are going to have to get paid. That's all down the road. This offseason, to me, by signing Jadeveon Clowney and solidifying a veteran defensive end opposite Myles Garrett to replace the injured Olivier Vernon, who would have been the incumbent, had he re-signed, he would have just assumed that left defensive end role. Now everything's changed, guys. Now Jimmy Haslam, JW, Barry, D. Podesta, they showed us that, you know what, as much as us as fans and us as media have had enough of our favorite football team floundering and suffering and, to be quite blunt with you, not being very good, I think for once the organization is on our side. And we've thought that before. We thought that through the analytics and that they made the big hire splash of Hugh Jackson and then John Dorsey. We got a football guy. The Browns are going all in. They want to win some games. This, that, and the other. Hire Freddie Kitchens. Baker likes him. Offense will be dynamic. OBJ, trade for him. It seems like this is a culmination of everything. It truly seems as if this is the perfect blend of the brains that we have going on right now. It feels so silly to me to say that a Jadeveon Clowney signing, a guy that really has not lived up to the hype of being the number 1 overall pick, a guy that's coming off of an 8-game season where he didn't record a single sack, where he blew out his knee at the end. I love the aggression. As a fan, I love the calculated, smart aggression where we're not sitting on our hands, we're spending money in smart spots, and we're still setting up for the future. With that said, let's talk about that future. How does Jadeveon Clowney change NFL draft plans? That's the big question that I've been getting, that I've been seeing. It shouldn't. The Jadeveon Clowney should not change or tamper with the plans that the Browns are already beginning to map through for what will happen in 2 weeks in Cleveland in their war room for the NFL draft. Here's how the NFL draft works, guys. These teams create, as much as fans, we like reading the mock drafts. Some people do the mock draft simulators. But teams are doing a very similar thing in their war rooms where they're creating their own mock drafts that's based on actual sourced information of little tidbits that they get from a scout over here and an executive over here and a GM right here. And they create a laundry list based off of things that they're hearing from other people that are hearing different things and try to create a game plan of different scenarios of who goes where. Obviously, this is a much easier thing to do when your team sucks. When the Browns were picking 1 and 4, it was pretty easy to plug holes. Am I right? It was pretty easy. You have the first pick. They knew going in that was going to be Baker Mayfield. You have that checked off. Then you got the Giants at 2, using 2018 as an example here. You're hearing rumblings. They want to keep Eli Manning, this and that. Okay, that's probably leaning towards Saquon Barkley. You could probably check that off. Then you got the Jets. Well, Saquon's off the board. Baker's off the board. Jets need a quarterback. You could pencil in Sam Darnold, Josh Allen. Doesn't really matter what goes 3. At 4, you know you're probably going to have your pickings of Denzel Ward, Bradley Chubb, etc., etc. You could do the same thing for 2019. You could do the same thing for 2020, where the Browns picked 10, drafted Jedrick Wills. These teams have an idea of, and they don't know pick by pick. There are surprises all the time, and teams put smoke screens out, whether it be to the media, whether it be to each other, solely so they can, manipulate and try to get the best player in their spot, possibly even trade away to accumulate more picks and still get the guy that they're targeting. The draft is mental gymnastics, and that's what's so fun to me about it. Long story long, signing Jadeveon Clowney shouldn't change anything because the Browns are already going through their process. They're already creating these long mock drafts, all the way up to 25. Who's picking in front of us? Who do we think it's going to be? What variation of if the board falls this way? What are we doing? Is it a D-end? Is it Alajari? Is it a corner? Is it a Asante Samuel Jr.? Do we drop back? All things to think about. Obviously, we will get heavy into the draft as this offseason progresses. We still have a few weeks here on Padone My Take before the NFL draft hits. All the outcomes, all the scenarios, all the what should they do at 26 happens. All I'm saying is, if you're sitting there and you're Andrew Berry, you're the Browns, if it's me and I'm getting ready to write the pick on the card, and I see the defensive end that I've been eyeing up, whether it's Azeez Alajari from, Georgia, whether it's Osai from Texas, whether it's, Greg from Miami or Jalen Phillips from Miami, and that guy is there, and that's my guy based off of the player pool and the spreadsheets that I have accumulated. And I think that's the guy that for the next 5 years is going to complement Myles Garrett and keep this defense in a competing mode. That's who I'm drafting. Sorry. A 1-year, $8 million Jadeveon Clowney signing. And I understand how this could sound contradictory, right? Like, Nick, you just told us that the Browns signed Jadeveon Clowney. That makes them legit in the AFC. That shows that the Browns are going after it. What are you saying, that they should turn around and draft a defensive end at 26? Shouldn't it be a corner? Shouldn't it be a linebacker and go all in? I understand that. What I'm saying is I like the aggression. I like that they're entering a win-now mode, and Jadeveon Clowney, when healthy, I believe can help the Browns do that. I'm saying, though, that come next offseason, you're going to have to do this song and dance all over again with finding a complement with Myles Garrett. If this show, heaven, we hope, still goes on by Wednesday, April 14th, 2022, we could be having another conversation of what are the Browns going to do to complement Myles Garrett. That's a problem that long-term was not solved with Jadeveon Clowney. Short-term, Jadeveon Clowney helps you get to where you want to go. But as far as the draft goes, if your top guy available is a defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney cannot let you get in the way of drafting that player. Same thing goes for the corners in that room. Obviously, Denzel Ward was the number 4 overall pick. When he's healthy, when he's available, when he's on the field, he has shown to be worthy of that selection, in my honest opinion. I think he's that good. I think he's getting to a point when he's healthy where opposing quarterbacks are fearful to throw in that direction. That's what you want. That is exactly what you want out of a lockdown corner. Then the next year, you follow it up in the round 2 and you draft Greedy Williams, who has struggled to get on the field. First year, had some injuries, had some inconsistent play. Last season, which would have been his sophomore year, missed the whole year. Greedy Williams is a question mark. Even though this organization has a lot tied into him because he was a second-round pick, and he was really the Browns' first-round pick because they had traded their first away for Odell Beckham Jr., there's a lot of pressure on Greedy. If the top player available is a corner, if somehow you're sitting at 26 and J.C. Horn is sitting there, Greedy Williams shouldn't even come into your mind. At that point, at that juncture in time, you need to treat Greedy Williams as if he was Joe, Joe off the street, Joe Mount Union. He'll be our backup. He'll be our swing guy at this position. We can't let Greedy Williams get in our way of locking up the guy that we need for the future of this franchise. I hope they don't do that. I don't think they will. I think the Browns are smart enough to understand. But for me, this Jadeveon Clowney thing doesn't change course too much as far as what the draft goes. Your needs are still in place for the NFL draft. Obviously, it's a huge sigh of relief that for this year, you won't have to throw a rookie defensive end that you might have reached in the draft for because you needed a starter outside of Myles Garrett. You're not 100% confident in Takk McKinley to handle 100% of those snaps. I understand Curtis Weaver. I understand Porter Gustin. It would have been tough had the Browns not landed a veteran defensive end like they just did today. Big sigh of relief, but there's still some positions in need. The cornerback room still needs help. Linebacker, I know they're probably not going to do it. It still needs help. It needs addressed at some point. Jacob Phillips, I have hope for. I have high feelings and expectations, and I want him to be good. Same with Sione Takitaki. I saw what he was able to do against the run last season, and I think he could be good. I think Anthony Walker is an upgrade over any player that we had in that room last season. But that's a lot of hope. Holding out a lot of hope there. I wouldn't mind throwing another rookie in the mix. I think competition as far as training camp goes outside of quarterbacks could produce results. And I think that's what I'm trying to drum up with the linebacker. I also think the wide receiver room needs some help, man. Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry. It's amazing having those two in Browns uniforms. I would like nothing more but than to see them both retire Cleveland Browns. I know that's probably not feasible with their contracts and that they both want to go on and have Hall of Fame careers and Odell wants the targets and Jarvis doesn't really stretch the field. I hear that all. Eventually that'll happen and come to fruition or whatever. I think there's no better time than with the 59th pick or even at 26, depending on if someone slips, nabbing a wideout right there. Like I said, we'll talk some NFL draft. I'm going to be back here in just a moment. But first, today is Baker Mayfield's 26th birthday, ladies and gentlemen. Baker Mayfield's 26 years old. Got a question for you on Twitter. If you could get Baker Mayfield one thing for his birthday, what would you get him? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how, if I would have asked this question 1 year ago, your answer would have been, I would have given Baker a new offensive line and so many other things. We're going to get into all of that, but I need you guys to go on Twitter at PidonMyTake, at NickPidon12. Do what you need to do. Tweet me if you could get Baker Mayfield one thing for his birthday. What would that one thing be? We're talking Jadeveon Clowney. We're talking Cleveland Browns, expectations, NFL draft. We got it all. We're going to talk Baker's birthday and some Cleveland Indians straight ahead. You're listening to Padone My Take on BigPlay.com. Stick with us. Alrighty, welcome on back in to Padone My Take. We are live on BigPlay.com, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Sportscaster, always on demand, Apple Pods, and Spotify. My name's Nick Padone. If you're just joining the show, you saw the question on your screen. If you could get Baker Mayfield one thing for his birthday, 26th birthday, what would you get, old number 6? What would you get Baker for his birthday? I'm going with a Super Bowl title. I'm going with an MVP before the Super Bowl title. I think the Browns are in an extremely unique position here as we sit in April, where they got this guy in his rookie contract. They have the best running back duo in the NFL. When healthy and with the potential, and we've yet to see it all click at once, I believe they could have the best receiving duo in the NFL. So you got the best running backs, you got the best receivers. Now could you have the best defensive end bookends in the NFL with Myles Garrett, with Jadeveon Clowney? So you got the running backs, the receivers, the defensive ends. If they draft Asante Samuel Jr., you got Denzel Ward. You got a lockdown secondary with John Johnson III, with Grant Delpit healthy. Obviously, health is going to play a big part in this run. Hopefully, we could see an NFL season of a year that's post-COVID. We don't have to worry about restrictions and who's going to be out when. And hopefully, we could find a way to get all these guys vaccinated. I'm not a doctor I don't work for the Players Association. I'm not sure how all of that is going to run and operate. I'm just remaining hopeful there, I suppose, as a fan. I think for Baker Mayfield's birthday, legitimately, the only answer that I could give 100% is a Super Bowl trophy and an MVP. I think that's the next step for Baker, right? We've seen the highs. We've seen breaking the rookie touchdown record. That was awesome. That season showed us that the Cleveland Browns, for the first time since '99, have a franchise quarterback. He did his job when he broke that record. That was sweet. Then we saw the lows, and we were with them through the lows of Freddie Kitchens. And do the Browns have a quarterback problem? And signing Case Keenum, and is there going to be a quarterback controversy? Is this Baker's team? What happens by week 8 if Baker's play begins to squander? Then we saw him come back in the second half of that Cincinnati Bengals game this season, throw 5 touchdown passes, completely turn his season around, be one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the National Football League throughout that second half of the season. If Baker picks up where he left off, and I mean where he left off, go back and watch that Kansas City Chiefs game. Baker Mayfield ain't the reason you lost that one. Go back and watch some of those tight window throws, gutsy throws that this guy was making in his first ever divisional championship game, fresh off the heels of beating Pittsburgh twice to get to that point against the reigning champs. And this guy goes out there and he's just absolutely slinging the football. Go back there and watch it. If Baker picks up there, if he picks up where he left off, he's going to win the MVP. I know Nick Chubb is on this team and Kareem Hunt, and that might hurt his chances a little bit because it might deflate some of the numbers. But with Odell back, with Jarvis hopefully healthy too, who knows? I think an MVP and a Lombardi is what I would gift Baker for his birthday. You guys are the best, though. People are tweeting the show. I love when it happens. You know when you tweet the show what you get. Your tweet on the screen. Mark tweets the show and says the number 1 seed, even though the Chiefs obviously have the easier schedule. Mark, thanks for tweeting the show. Could I just say, could you imagine? Could you imagine going through this NFL regular season, which is going to be extended, a 17-week grind, really 18 weeks because of a bye, and your Cleveland Browns are the 1 seed throughout the AFC? That means you're winning like between 14 and 16 games if you're going to lock up that 1 seed. This city in a vaccinated Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, if they could get their act together, world, that's going to be a freaking party. That is going to be a blast if the Cleveland Browns could come out next year and just be awesome, be the bee's knees, be the talk of the town. This city's craving it. the stadium sold out. Like the chills that gives me of imagining the national anthem and the flyover and Baker Mayfield playing the drums to Phil Collins. Oh my goodness. Get it here. Get it here. We're going to talk some Tribe and some Cavs maybe tonight, but jeez. Give me football season. That's going to be so much fun. Mark, I'm with you. Give me that number 1 seed. Screw the Chiefs, man. They've been in 2 Super Bowls. The hangover has to hit eventually. They lost their 2 starting tackles. Let the Browns be the 1 seed. Let Cleveland, Ohio have an electric fall. Coming off of a great summer, we'll all be tan, drinking hot chai teas from Starbucks. The leaves will be falling. Cleveland, baby. Browns top the AFC, getting ready for the Super Bowl. We're thinking about hosting an AFC championship game in Cleveland. I love it. Let's get another tweet up on this screen. Pigskin Wompkins tweets the show. Pigskin is on board with me. He says he would get Baker a Lombardi trophy for his birthday. Again, another imagined thing. The brown and orange confetti falling, Baker lifting it up. Could you imagine if he trolls LeBron and gives a Cleveland "this is for you" as he's holding it up? Lombardi trophy, that's the next step, man. We've been to the divisional championship. I guess, the AFC is the next part. Making a Super Bowl would be the next thing. But, man, when you get there, you got to capitalize. You got to bring home the Lombardi. And I think we got the team to do it this season. Pigskin Wompkins would get Baker a Lombardi trophy, as would I. Great birthday present there. Another tweet coming in. David tweets the show and says he would get Baker Mayfield a home AFC championship game. I mean, last year we saw what Browns Nation was kind of capable of, right? Corona was wavering. People were outside welcoming the team back with the Browns flags at 3 a.m. Even after they lost the Chiefs game. The fun and the vibes of trolling the Steelers with the Corvette thing. We had some fun, some legitimate fun with the Browns throughout that playoff run last season. But a home AFC championship game. I think the key of David's tweet here, and I appreciate the tweet, David, is a home AFC championship game. That should be in caps. Home. In Cleveland. For a chance to go to the Super Bowl. That atmosphere would be delirious. It would be deafening in that stadium because that's what these people want here so bad. We're sitting here in April ahead of a draft talking about just the potential, just the possibility of this coming to fruition. It would be an atmosphere unlike any other. Obviously, the Cavs title runs were awesome. The Indians in the World Series right after that was incredible too. But to host a home AFC championship game, that's it. That's, Lombardi's here. Home AFC championship game has to be right here, especially with these fans. I think Baker would appreciate that birthday gift as well. Our last tweet that we'll read on the show tonight, we already touched on it here. Natural tweets the show. What would he get Baker for his birthday? He already got it. Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, some help on that defensive end of the football. Keep those scores low. Let that offense kind of go into cruise control against bad teams. Win some easy games. Like some of the other tweeters said, get to that AFC championship game at home. Try to win the AFC. Baker, happy birthday. Hope all these wishes come true. They were all super positive, super fun stuff from everyone. Thanks to everybody who tweeted the show right there. That's what we would all get Baker for his birthday. Of course, today's Twitter poll is presented by my friends at Dugout Mugs. Baseball's back. The Indians are back. They're in first place. Who would have imagined? Spring training is over. That's all behind us. If you haven't got your Dugout Mugs yet, what are you doing? You know what you need to do. Order your Dugout Mugs now. For summer, these are real handcrafted baseball bats with the barrel hollowed out and engraved with your favorite team's logo. Makes for the perfect beer mug to kick back and watch some baseball all summer long. Looks like our Indians might be good, and this is a must-have item for every fan that's eager to have their favorite sport back underway this spring. I'm excited. I'm buying in. You should be too. With Dugout Mugs for my Clevelanders, we're all in the same boat here together. Visit dugoutmugs.com/bigplay to view their entire Cleveland Indians collection today. That's dugoutmugs.com/bigplay. Like I just said, the Indians are good, right? We think they're good. They've beat up on Detroit. Now they had their way with Chicago yesterday, did Shane Bieber. The Bats were able to come alive just enough at the end for the Tribe to secure a victory. As much fun as we just had talking Browns, could you imagine if this is the team that catches us by surprise? Like, I always see the Twitter polls on Twitter. People try to drum up controversy, engagement, retweets, whatever, you name it. I understand these blog sites got to do what they got to do. Who's winning the championship first, right? That's the big tagline, the big question that people always try to get after. Will it be the Cavs, Browns, or Indians? Right now, Browns is like 90% on that poll. Some people will hold out faith for the Indians, and then Cavs, it's like, yeah, no chance. When's LeBron coming back sort of deal for that. But with that, could you imagine, and I'm not saying the Indians are going to win the World Series after we're barely into double-digit games here in this season. I'm just saying that so far they've been watchable, and I think that exceeds what a lot of people's expectations and hopes were, especially after opening day and the first few games where the Bats were lethargic, like couldn't get hits to save our lives. And it's still not the sexiest thing on planet Earth. There's still times where I look at the middle of this lineup, which should have some jacked hitters hitting bombs left and right, and I'm like, what is going on here? Why is everyone on this team hitting 200? The season's early. They look okay. For a Terry Francona team that historically starts slow, to have the start that the Indians have had so far, mark me down as impressed. That's all. That's really all there is to say, I feel like. You can't judge the whole season based off a 10-game sample size. What I will say is I would love to see this caliber of play keep up. Obviously, the pitching has been next to perfect. If you listen to the Big Play Network a lot, which is obviously how this show is hosted, Big Play Reflog on Monday, Dave poses the question, who's the worst starting pitcher on the Indians? There is not one. The pitching has looked phenomenal from top down. It's been the bats, it's been the offense. But if we could have those guys heat up, and when I say heat up, I'm not even expecting 10 runs a night. Like, if we could just have them support this pitching on a nightly basis, this team is going to be A-okay. I know these guys are young, but Plesac has looked fine. Savali's looked fine. Logan Allen, fifth starter, has looked really good. Like, Tristan McKenzie has been all right. This team has me excited. It's fun to be excited about them, especially because of how down we were about the Tribe. I will say this. You can't make assumptions this far. We can't say they're going to the World Series. We can't say the pitching's good enough to go to the World Series, but the hitting is minor league. We can't say any of that yet. What we can say, though, is that the pitching looks good. The offense looks like there's a lot of room to improve, and that these next 17 games are going to tell us a ton. Your next 17 games are against the Chicago White Sox, the Cincinnati Reds, who are red hot. Every Tyler Naquin home run takes another year off of my life. I'm going to be dead by 30 at this point. And the New York Yankees. The Chi Sox, the Reds, and the Yankees are what you got up next. And you're sitting atop the American League Central right now. You need to find some wins in that 17-game time span. And then, not only locally but nationally, people will put some respect on the Cleveland Indians. It will tell us a lot about what kind of team we have. And I hope we win a good chunk of these games, and this swagger and this pizzazz is kind of spearheads us through this run and even into the weaker opponents after these 17, where we got the Royals and stuff again. That'd be awesome. I don't want to do the thing near the deadline again where it's like, oh, the pitching's phenomenal. I would love to get a bat. I would like to get a big stick. This team ain't going to do that. Your best hope, your best chance for that is that Jake Bauers, Jordan Luplow, one of those clowns get DFA'd and Bobby Bradley comes up and he's actually as advertised. Or Daniel Johnson comes up to play the outfield and he's good. Or Oscar Mercado comes back and has a flashback to his rookie season and he comes alive for a bat. They're not going to do another Yasiel Puig kind of thing to get a big name, big hitter. I feel like that days are over. Those ships have sailed. And they're not in a rebuilding mode, so I don't know why I feel that way. I just feel like that's the unlikely outcome with this Cleveland Indians team. I'm excited to keep following them because right now they're red hot. These next 17 games, though, pivotal. Obviously, they're on right now. I'm going to get you guys out of here to go watch the end of that game because here is what's trending. Alrighty, what's trending on Padone My Take, presented by BigPlay.com. We're going to do our plays of the week. If you're new to the show, we have a small play, a medium play, and a big play of the week. A small play that missed the mark, a medium play, something that fell right in between, and a big play, the biggest storyline that I fell in love with this week. Here we go, small play of the week. I'm going with the Cleveland weather. As you might be able to hear, my sinuses are acting up. Went from Florida to Cleveland, back to Florida, back to Cleveland, and allergy season, tree pollen. Look up the Weather Channel, man. If you guys are bored, and if the Indians are boring right now, I don't know because I'm hosting the show. TVs are out in the studio. Dave with the ice machine from Monday night. Geez, we're batting 0 in the studio these last few nights. But if you're bored, look at the Weather Channel and look up this tree pollen. It's incredible what's going on with this. You're able to see like the graph. And the last when I was in Florida, it was fine. Tree pollen's fine. It's like this. And then now I come back and the tree pollen's like, oh, he's back to the moon. Tree pollen everywhere. Sneezing like crazy. Could you imagine if we get like Mucinex as a sponsor so that way I don't sound all nasally in this mic? What's another one? I think it like Excedrin, but that's for headaches. That's like when the Browns sucked. People should have had Excedrin as a sponsor. No, I'm just saying though, this tree pollen's crazy. If you're bored, look it up because it is off the charts. No idea what's going on. If people are struggling like me to get through an hour of talking straight with 1 minute break, tweet me at NickPadone12. What do you do to get your sinuses cleared when it's allergies like mad like this? I'm looking for any pro tips that I could get at NickPadone12. Allergies, let's talk about them. Hot chai tea, that helps, but I don't know if that's going to help today. Our medium play of the week. This is hilarious. So this honestly was almost the big play of the week because I fell in love with this headline immediately. Alex Rodriguez, former MLB star, buys the Minnesota Timberwolves. That headline in itself is hilarious because he was trying to buy the New York Mets. So you go back from buying a team in New York City to buying a team in Minneapolis, a team in baseball where you could spend all the money in the world and get stars like Lindor and DeGrom and Syndergaard. And then you have the Timberwolves with Karl Anthony Towns, who are in last place in the league this year and are going to have another lottery pick. All jokes aside, I do think the Timberwolves are promising. I think that just going from the Mets to Minneapolis is kind of funny. But this is the medium play of the week because Anthony Edwards, who is a promising player that the Timberwolves have, number 1 overall pick in this past year's draft, has had some stellar dunks this season, doesn't know who A-Rod is. They asked him after the game, what do you think of A-Rod buying the team? Are you an A-Rod fan? And he said, fan? What do you mean? Why would I be a fan of him? They were like, are you a baseball fan at all? And he was like, no, I don't know who A-Rod is. He's like, I know he's about to be the owner, but I don't know what he did before that. And they're like, dude, he's like a huge baseball icon. It's Alex Rodriguez. Anthony Edwards had no idea who A-Rod even was. And I that got me thinking, is that embarrassing if you're Anthony Edwards? Oh my goodness, I'm 18 years old and I didn't know who this guy was. Obviously played a little bit before my time, but he's my new boss. He's the new owner of my organization. Is that embarrassing? Or on the other hand, is that the most savage thing ever? Like, is that going into your boss at work and being like, I have no idea how you became my boss. I've never looked at your LinkedIn profile. Excited to work with you. Like, I don't know. Is it embarrassing? Is it savage? Tweet me at NickPadone12. I think it's hilarious. I think it's savage. There's nothing to be embarrassed about because that kind of stuff happens to me all the time. Being a younger person that's exposed to weird situations, just working in media and stuff, like, it's strange. You run into things and references from movies or old sayings, and you have to say, what's that? Like, I've never heard of that. Like, that's the only way you learn things. So for Anthony Edwards, it just so happened that he learned that his new owner of the organization was a baseball mega icon in a press conference with a ton of microphones and cameras. Went super viral, but that's the medium play of the week because that was just a hilarious happening. That happened throughout this weekend when A-Rod bought the team, and then last night when Anthony Edwards had no idea who he was. That leads us to our big play of the week. Who is Sheldon Richardson? And I know what people are thinking. They're probably like, how is Sheldon Richardson? How much did Sheldon Richardson cash app Nick to get him to be the big play of the week? $0, even though Sheldon, would love to have you on the show. Would love to have you cash at me something. DM me with and I'll send you over my cash tag or whatever it's called. No, Sheldon Richardson, though, has been, he's been here since the day of the Odell Beckham trade. That was actually the precursor of the Browns landing Odell Beckham Jr., was signing Sheldon Richardson to the defensive line to play next to Larry Ogunjobi, who's now gone as well. I think he has been one of the most underrated Browns over the last 2 seasons. I think he has just lived up to his contract. He's been exactly what you want out of an interior defensive tackle. He's been reliable. He's always in the game. He's never gassed on the sideline. He, by all accounts, is a hard worker. He came in heavy, his first year with Freddie, and then it looked like this year he was in much better shape. From all the things that I hear, he's like a awesome leader in the locker room, like a Class A guy of what you want for your team. With the Jadeveon Clowney signing, his future's in a little bit of jeopardy. Supposedly, this is coming from Yahoo Sports, could lead to a Sheldon Richardson release or restructure or extension and restructure, how those things go. I just wanted to make Sheldon Richardson the big play of the week this week because I think his contribution to this team has been as advertised, if not better. And I would love to see a way where we could restructure his contract by adding years onto it, because I think he's a consummate pro that you need on that defensive line that's young, that's hungry, and that he's honestly the type of talented player that could help this team head to a Super Bowl. What a fun hour. That was Plays of the Week. Thanks for everyone for hanging out. Super fun show. If you missed any of it, subscribe on Apple Pods, Spotify. That's where you'll never miss a second of the Padone My Take action. Catch everything on demand for free over there. Huge thanks to Dugout Mugs, dugoutmugs.com/bigplay. View their Cleveland Indians stuff. Check out the Big Play store. Padone My Take merch is live. Sexland shirts. Go rep our backcourt. Promo code Padone. 15% off of your entire cart. NFL draft shirts. Awesome, hilarious Cleveland shirts. Get on over to the Big Play store. Get you a Sexland shirt. Use promo code Padone, and you're going to have 15% off. Can't pass that up. Next Wednesday night, same bat time, same bat channel. We do this all again. Go live your life. Go have some fun. You all deserve it so, so much. I love you guys so much. As the great Joe Tate used to say, good night, everybody.